Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be. Hey, who are you?
Allah or die.
The peaceful religion of Islam was founded in 610 AD by a man named Muhammad, which was then followed by the first Muslim conquest between the years 622 to 750, with the Muslims taking Jerusalem in 638. During these conquests, they were able to conquer the majority of the Christian world, which included Israel, Syria, North Africa, and even parts of Spain. Since the creation of Islam, the Byzantine Empire fought the Muslims for many years. The Byzantines fought many Muslim caliphates, including the Umayyad, who besieged Constantinople twice but failed to take the city. For almost 4 centuries, the Byzantines had to fight off many Muslim invasions, most of which were fought in the Middle East and Anatolia, or modern-day Turkey. In the 11th century, the Seljuk Turks in Central Asia, who recently converted to Islam, began their conquest into the Middle East, fighting both Arabs and the Byzantine Empire. In the Battle of Manzikert in 1071, the Seljuk Turks defeated the Byzantine Empire and were able to easily take over all of Anatolia, as well as capture Jerusalem. Since the capture of Jerusalem by the Seljuks, Christians within the city were treated unfairly by them, and were subjected to violence and banned from expressing their faith. The Seljuks also desecrated many holy Christian sites. With the Muslims now being closer to mainland Europe than ever, and the Byzantine army collapsing, many Europeans started to become worried that the Seljuks would charge into Europe and kill them all. In 1095, Alexius Comnenus, who was the emperor of the Byzantine Empire at the time, was being pushed further and further back by the Seljuk Turks. Alexius messaged Pope Urban II and told him to send help against the Seljuk Turks. The Pope agreed, and in a speech to Europe, he told the people that their Christian brothers in the East are in need of their help and that they should fight and take back the Holy Land. Christian knights and peasants from all over Europe started their long march to face the Muslim invaders. Some crusaders who passed through Germany decided to kill any Jews they saw on the way in revenge for their killing of Jesus Christ, though these actions were widely condemned by bishops and some of the perpetrators were arrested. There are many debates about the true intentions of the Crusades, with many people suggesting Crusades were for personal glory and greed. Many Europeans who heard that Christians were subjected to unfair treatment in the Holy Land were very motivated to fight back against the Turks. Many historians have disproved the idea that the Crusades were led because of individual greed and that crusading was actually very expensive and very dangerous. The motivation for most crusaders to go and fight were spiritual reasons, as well as the Pope's lie that if you fought the Turks, you would receive eternal life. When the Crusaders first arrived in Anatolia, they were able to push the Seljuks back. The Seljuks, who saw the threat of the Crusaders, retreated while burning any crops in their way, as to not give the Crusaders anything to eat. This led to the Crusaders being starved and unmotivated while roaming around in Anatolia. But when the Armenian Christians in Anatolia saw the Crusaders approaching and in need of help, they helped them by giving them food and giving them details about the enemy's movements. Many of the Armenians joined the Crusaders, and together they marched towards Jerusalem. Now the city of Antioch is 300 miles from Jerusalem and was the main obstacle to making it to Jerusalem. The Seljuks were well fortified in the city, so the Crusaders decided to take the city under siege. But after a long siege, the Crusaders became restless and eager for a fight. On the inside of the city was a Christian Armenian who converted to Islam named Firoz. He was high-ranking governor in the city, and he had a recent argument with many of the Seljuk leaders in the city. He became so angry that he met with the Crusaders and opened the city gates, allowing all the Crusaders to pour into the city. The Crusaders caught the Seljuks by surprise and destroyed the main city, but had to take the citadel. A citadel is a fortress built on the highest point of the city and is the hardest to take over. The Crusaders then swarmed to lay siege to the citadel, which allowed the Seljuks to call a large amount of reinforcements. The Crusaders also called for more reinforcements, but were turned down because of their terrible situation. Back in the city, the Crusaders were looting and killing any Muslim in sight, when one Crusader named Peter Bartholomew said he saw a vision about the Holy Lands. which is the spear that pierced Jesus' side while he was on the cross. In a vision, he saw the spear underneath the city and started digging with his hands and supposedly found it. Though he probably planted a random spear, this boosted morale for the Crusaders. When the reinforcing Seljuk army put the Crusaders under siege, the Crusaders stormed out of the city and attacked any Seljuk in their sight, and they all retreated. This battle took place in 1098 and created a clear pathway to Jerusalem. Now in 1098, the Egyptian Fatimids forcefully took Jerusalem from the Seljuk Turks, but the Crusaders were already on their way to the Holy Land and wanted to take it no matter what. The Crusaders had an easy trip all the way down to Jerusalem, as many cities just let them through, and the Seljuk Turks were fighting the Fatimids and did not try to stop the Crusaders from taking Jerusalem. When the Egyptian Fatimid took Jerusalem, they appointed a governor named Ad-Dawla, and he knew the Crusaders were coming and quickly prepared his city for an upcoming siege. He even kicked out all the Christians from the city, only leaving Muslims and Jews in the city. When the Crusaders arrived to the outskirts of the city, they were low on supplies, but still put the city under siege. But a few days into the siege, they heard from scouts that a huge Egyptian Fatimid army was on its way to reinforce the city. So after only a week of the siege, they rushed into Jerusalem. The attack failed totally, as the Fatimids were well defended and the Crusaders were not well equipped and low on supplies. A few days later, reinforcements and supplies arrived, and the Crusaders were able to construct siege towers. On July 13, 1099, the Crusaders charged the city again, and this time they were able to open 2 gates at the entrance of the city, and the Crusaders poured into the city. When Crusaders entered Jerusalem, they fought both Jews and Muslims and killed any of them in their sights. But the First Crusade didn't end here. In August of 1099, the Egyptian Fatimid army made its way up to Jerusalem to put the city under siege and take the city back. When they reached 30 miles southwest of Jerusalem, they decided to set up camp outside the city of Ascalon. The Crusaders' army knew about the approaching Muslim army and decided to leave Jerusalem and meet their enemy in Ascalon, the Fatimids, who had a double the size army that the Crusaders had, but they were unprepared and did not expect the Crusaders to travel out of Jerusalem. The Crusaders attacked Ascalon on the early morning of August 12th, and the unprepared Muslims struggled to fight back. The Crusaders beat the Fatimids and made them retreat, and when the battle ended, the Crusaders decided to let the Fatimids hold on to the city of Ascalon and made their way back to Jerusalem, leading to the end of the First Crusade.